Hello, my name is Ben, and this is r/entitled parents. Our first story is from No Note 9960. I work for an airline, and we get free flight tickets that we can extend to our parents, including step-parents and in-laws. But I don't particularly like my stepmother, or know her very well. For context, my mother died a few years ago, and my dad remarried recently. Thus, I don't want to extend the privilege to her. However, my father is upset. For context, I know he is upset because we get one friend to add, and my dad mentioned adding her as the friend, to which I told him I decide who that one friend is and that I might give it to someone else. He got upset because he says it costs him money because he covers her cost, and that granting the friend pass should be automatic because it helps him. For context, she doesn't make much money, and my dad provides for her mostly, especially for vacations. He went on to say that because he paid for my college tuition, room and board, provided me with a car, and gave me $20,000 in my savings account, that I should return the favor by giving her the flight pass because it helps him save money. He feels that it's unfair if he gets it free and she has to pay. He went on to say that he would refuse free flights if I don't grant it to her. I responded by saying I don't support the marriage and I don't like her, to which he said that I don't have the authority to dictate the marriage. I responded back by saying that he doesn't get to decide who I grant the flight privileges to. I told him that with this kind of behavior, I might not even grant him the pass, since entitled behavior might get me in trouble. He got more upset and said I was being disrespectful towards him because I shouldn't use his behavior towards me as an indication of him at the airport. He went on to say that he would refuse the privilege because of my disrespect. He went on to proclaim that not granting the flight pass to her is essentially declaring to the whole world that I don't like her. I told him that I don't trust her enough to take responsibility for her. He said that he would be responsible for her, but that's not how it works, as the employee, me, takes responsibility. I said that it's his right to marry her, but it's also his responsibility. I think he is being entitled. I especially don't like the fact that he is imposing her as a priority against my will. He has made threats of withholding my last semester's tuition and taking her car back. Thus, I'm really uncomfortable. Okay, I know this isn't an Am I the Butthole post, but I don't know. I feel like this is kind of an everyone sucks here situation because I'm not getting the sense that the stepmother has really done anything wrong. I understand that he, as the employee, is responsible for his guest's behavior at the airport, right? But at the same time, I don't really get the sense that the stepmother is like a bad person. I can understand the father getting upset because his son isn't wanting to include his new wife in this free flight pass thing. However, it's also the son's decision who gets the flight pass. So if he doesn't want to include his father's wife, then so be it, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a complicated situation because, like I said, it doesn't feel like she's done anything wrong in this post. I don't get the sense that she's been like a terrible person or anything, at least insofar as OP has described her, you know. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to say that the dad is being kind of entitled, but the son is also being kind of a butthole. So I don't know. Everyone kind of sucks in this situation. Our next story is from Narenhel's My Name. This is about my own wedding and how an entitled mom nearly turned it into her own personal circus. For some background, my fiance, now husband, and I planned our wedding for over a year. We wanted something small yet elegant with close family and friends. My husband's family is pretty down to earth except for his aunt, who is known for her over-the-top behavior and entitlement. Everything was going smoothly until a week before the wedding. His aunt called and demanded that we include her 6-year-old daughter, my husband's cousin, as the flower girl. We already had 2 flower girls, my nieces, who were thrilled about it. I politely declined, explaining that arrangements were already made. His aunt didn't take this well. She started a tirade about how her daughter was being excluded unfairly and how we were ruining her child's self-esteem. I tried to stay calm, but she was relentless. I had thought that was the end of it, but oh, I was so wrong. On our wedding day, his aunt showed up with her daughter dressed in a full-blown white, frilly flower girl dress. She marched up to me, demanding that her daughter had to be included in the ceremony. I was flabbergasted. My husband and I, along with our wedding planner, tried to reason with her, but she caused a huge scene, saying things like, "How could you be so selfish on your wedding day?" and "You're destroying a little girl's dream." My usually quiet mother-in-law had had enough. She stepped in and told his aunt that in no uncertain terms that this was our day, not hers or her daughter's. She said if his aunt couldn't respect our wishes, they would have to leave. His aunt was shocked. She tried to argue, but other family members who were equally fed up with her antics supported my mother-in-law's stance. Realizing she was outnumbered, his aunt left in a huff, her daughter in tow. The rest of the wedding went off without a hitch, and everyone had a great time. We heard through the grapevine that his aunt complained about us to anyone who would listen, but most of the family knew her history and took it with a grain of salt, boosting up my confidence in our marriage's success even more. Yeah, I think that there's only one clear entitled person in this story, and it's the aunt. How after being told no, do you go out and buy a dress, put it on your daughter, come to this wedding who you've had no contribution towards whatsoever, and demand that your daughter be put in as a flower girl? That's crazy, especially considering how much people normally spend on weddings. It's a lot of money. So it's entirely their decision to dictate how the wedding is going to go. It is not up to some entitled family member to try and force a decision on the bride or the groom on the wedding day. I'm obviously speaking to the choir here more than likely, but like I'm so I'm so amazed that somebody would even think that this is okay. Like how do you come up with that in your head? It's just insane. Up next, we have another story from Narenhel's My Name. I work in a city and usually take the bus home. As anyone who commutes knows, these buses can get packed, especially during rush hour. On this particular day, I managed to snag a seat, which felt like winning the lottery after a long day at work. I had my earbuds in and was half asleep, lost in my music. A few stops into my ride, entitled Mom, EM, and her son, who looked to be about 10 years old, got on the bus. It was clear from the get-go that there were no seats available, but that didn't stop EM from scanning the bus like she was on a mission. She locked eyes with me and beelined in my direction. EM, in a tone that was more demanding than polite, said, "Excuse me, would you let my son sit down? He's really tired from his day and needs to sit." I was surprised she singled me out since there were other people, some elderly, standing as well. I was about to respond, maybe even stand up, despite feeling exhausted myself, when a woman standing nearby, I'll call her helpful lady, HL, spoke up. HL said in a kind but firm tone, "Ma'am, it's not right to single someone out for their seat. We're all tired after a long day. Perhaps your son could manage standing for a bit." EM's face turned a shade of red, and she responded, "But he's just a child, and children need to sit. It's common courtesy." The bus was unusually silent, with everyone seemingly tuned in to our conversation. HL, undeterred, replied, "I understand, but so do the elderly, the disabled, and those who've had long days at work. We can't expect others to always give up their comfort for us. It's a valuable lesson in consideration and patience." EM looked ready to argue more, but seemed to realize that the bus audience wasn't on her side. She muttered something under her breath about rude people and moved slightly away, still standing. The rest of the ride was uneventful, but the atmosphere felt a bit charged. When my stop arrived, I got up, and as I passed HL, she gave me a small smile and a nod, as if to say, "You did the right thing." I nodded back in gratitude, feeling relieved, but also a bit surprised at how the situation unfolded. Yeah, HL in this story was 100% right with her talk. There's a ton of other people on the bus that has to stand, and just because she has a child who's tired, it does not entitle her to a seat. Honestly, on the bus, it's first come, first serve. If you don't move fast enough for a seat, I mean, it is what it is, you know? I'm sure somebody snatched up that seat as soon as OP walked off, so you know what they say, sucks to suck. Our next story is by Let's Help Helk. I grew up in a household that was hell for both me, a 20-year-old female, and my mother. My father had 2 children before me and 2 children after me, all boys he had with my mom. And because I was born right in the middle, I was singled out for a lot of stuff. A few examples. My dad would often ask each of us what we wanted from the store as a reward for doing well in school. My brothers always got what they wanted. I hardly got what I wanted. On birthdays, my brothers got to see whatever movies they wanted. I never got to choose the movie I wanted to see. If I asked for something for Christmas, I more than likely wouldn't get it unless it was from another family member. Whenever one of us started doing bad in school, I would always get the biggest punishments while my brothers got off easy. My dad allowed my brothers to watch him when he cooked so they could learn. I had to learn how to use things like the grill on my own. My brothers could wear swim trunks or a Speedo. I was only allowed to wear a one-piece swimsuit, which I hated because it made going to the bathroom awkward. Dad would always come and support my brothers whenever they had an event. Whenever I had one, all I would get was constant criticism. The worst one by far? Whenever my brothers got birthday or Christmas money, they'd spend it all on candy, toys, clothes, etc. I wasn't even allowed by my father to touch my money. I counted from when I was 7 to when I was 15, and I had over $800 in cash that I was denied. This got way worse when I entered middle school. My older brothers, Matt and Kyle, not their real names, realized I was being left out, and we talked about it with our little brothers, and now all of us include each other in our celebrations. But now my dad was constantly telling my brothers not to interact with me in any way and to pretend like I wasn't there. And then my stuff started going missing. It started small with my pencil sharpener and a note card or something. Then it escalated to my merchandise disappearing. Then my movies. Anything I bought with my own money would be gone the next day. When I confronted my dad about it, he didn't deny what he did and said he threw it all away because I'm growing up to be a housewife that doesn't need that stuff. I told him I didn't want to be a housewife. I wanted to get a real job. He then sent me to my room. As I entered high school, I found that my swimsuits had been thrown out, a few of my cool shirts had been thrown out, and even my phone had been thrown out. When I found that out, I tried keeping it cool at school that day, but I just broke down in the middle of class. When my parents found out what happened, my dad kicked me out. My older brothers had graduated high school already and were living together to save money, so I went to stay with them. I got therapy and eventually learned that my stuff wasn't thrown out. That's when I learned the truth. My dad tried to throw it all out to groom me into becoming a housewife so he could marry me off to one of his co-workers. But when I broke down crying in school, he kicked me out so he didn't have to hear me because the moment I cried, he decided to abandon the plan and cover his tracks. You might be wondering where my mom was in all this. She did everything she could to help me, but her own husband wouldn't listen to her. I was the middle child, and he was entitled to everything regarding me because I'm his daughter, and if he wants this to be my life, it's my life. It's no wonder that me being kicked out led to them getting divorced. If you're wondering about my little brothers, they want nothing to do with my dad and actively refuse to go to his house. Moving in with Matt and Kyle was easily the best decision I made. I learned that all my stuff was saved from the dumpster and put into a storage facility, and I got most of my stuff back. The clothes that didn't fit me we sold by holding a yard sale. Matt and Kyle's backyard also had a pool and a hot tub, and I was finally able to experience them in a bikini. Thanks to help from my mom and my little brothers, I was able to confess to my best friend who is now my girlfriend. When I graduated, we celebrated it at Matt and Kyle's house. The whole family was there, except for Dad. Where was he, anyway? He got arrested for a DUI car crash after being high on marijuana, and has been in jail for a few years now awaiting trial. Good. Screw him. I've now moved out of Matt and Kyle's house, or rather just Matt's house because Kyle moved out, as they bought a house for me and my girlfriend, which of course had a pool and a hot tub. To my dad, screw you for being absolutely awful as a parent, and screw you for being terrible to me because I was born in the middle. Wow, this is an absolutely insane story. I can't believe that people choose to have children and treat them like this. Like, I have 2 kids of my own, and I could absolutely not imagine treating them the way that this guy treats his daughter. It's absolutely insane to me to think that you could have children and treat them like that. I literally have no words. Like, why? What's even the point? Like, you may as well just give the kid up. They'd obviously have a better life then than living with you. Our next story is by Satirical Quip. I just found out I have mast cell activation syndrome. All my life, I was a sick kid. My parents kept me inside, and I missed out on so much. Everyone thought my mom was making me sick for attention, but it turns out she was keeping me sick for attention. I was always covered in hives, often kept out of school for long stretches of time, even when I felt fine. My parents would never take me to the doctor when I needed it. As a kid, every little cold I had turned into pneumonia. Like, I never just got over a small cold easily. Yet there was magically an endless supply of pain pills and Ritalin, so she went to the doctors for herself. I'm pretty sure she was sleeping with one of the doctors to get oxy, but I digress. My grandmother would try to get me help, as would my older sister, but my parents often won. I also had untreated scoliosis. That's progressed into kyphoscoliosis now. I was supposed to have corrective surgery as a kid, but she opted out. That being said, I had a lot of back pain as a kid, but I was just fed pain pills and codeine syrup and had to tough it out. I'm totally sober now, but as a teen into my early 20s, I was hooked on pills thanks to her. My husband and I have been searching for a diagnosis for well over a decade. I've been gaslit by so many doctors and told I was fine. Told to just drop some pounds and I'd feel better. My husband and my friend suspected it was something autoimmune like lupus. Lately, I've become allergic to the sun ever since August of 2023. I had this issue as a toddler and randomly in middle school as well. It seems to come and go. I finally have answers. I just got them in a really messed up way. I reckon my mom is so close to death, and I guess is feeling remorse because she just told me I was diagnosed with mast cell instability when I was a child. I am 37 years old now. 37. She knew this whole time. I now have a slew of health issues, a crumbling spine, crippling migraines, vision issues, urinary issues, reproductive issues, early onset osteoarthritis, and osteoporosis. I'm an artist who can barely create art anymore because of the arthritic pain in my hands. Doctors say I have the spine of an 80-year-old. Perhaps if I had proper treatment or even knew about this, I would have been able to be proactive and have a normal life. It would also have been cool to have doctors listen to me so I could have found this out earlier, but maybe that is me trying to make excuses for not blaming my mom. I can't have kids, I can't have a career, I can barely walk some days. I just don't know how to digest this. Granted, my mom is a pill addict in poor health, and I guess this was a moment of clarity for her, but why now? Why watch me spend thousands and years on doctors when she knew all along? Did she genuinely forget? It seems kind of screwed up to forget your toddler being diagnosed with a rare disease. My dermatologist, who is helping me with my sun allergy, says it makes perfect sense, but where do I go from here? All these years I was just supposed to take a crap ton of antihistamines? Just a few pills, vitamins, steroids, and maybe some shots, and I could have had a normal life? I don't quite know about the treatments for mast cell, as I just freaking learned of its existence, but I'm currently learning all about it, and I'm on a crap ton of antihistamines from the dermatologist. I am so angry. I feel so stupid. I'm so hurt, yet I feel so guilty for feeling mad at her because she's bedridden and probably going to die soon. All these health issues I had I thought were separate, but they're all from mast cell. My therapist years ago said I was a victim of Munchausen by proxy via medical neglect, and I didn't want to believe her, but I surely do now. She took my life from me. Granted, she has a slew of untreated mental health issues and had a life of trauma, but instead of getting help, she did this to me? I guess I really am the product of generational trauma. Her reasoning for not taking me to the doctors as a kid was, I was a very hyperactive and hard to deal with child, and running to and from doctors' offices was way too much. She also said that it wasn't a big deal because sometimes the symptoms and hives would go away. But that's the freaking disease. It comes and goes. It has flares. She also says, how dare I put this guilt on her now? I'm also dealing with a fairly new ADHD and ASD diagnosis. That also makes a lot of sense. Mast cell and autism often go hand in hand, I am told. I'm just so hurt and confused. Even as an adult, it still hurts to know that your parents don't care about you. My sister says I should go no contact with my parents because of this recent discovery. She already has because our father is abusive too, but that's a whole other story. But I don't know how, and I feel guilty because she's probably going to die soon. I still feel this guilty duty towards her. She pulls me in somehow. My sister said she's a true narcissist. My brother-in-law says I should sue, but my parents already have such a horrible life now it wouldn't matter, and it would just cost me time and money. Part of me feels stupid for sitting here feeling sorry for myself, but I don't know how to feel right now. I don't know. It seems like you pretty much know how to feel, OP. Angry. Angry and sad, and I don't know. I mean, those are really the only two emotions that I feel like I would be able to feel in this situation. I mean, your mother was abusive towards you, medically abusive towards you your entire life. So much so that it's going to have lasting consequences on you. It already has had lasting consequences on you. I don't know how people have kids and treat them like this. It's crazy to me that people can have kids and treat them just like garbage, basically. Man, I don't know. OP, I sincerely hope that something works out for you. I know that maybe medically it's too far gone, but you have your husband, you have your friends. I hope that they're able to work through these emotions with you, and I hope that you're able to get help at least mentally, you know. That was r/entitled parents. If you like this video, please leave a like. Comment down below with what subreddits you want me to cover next time. Peace.